Huge thanks to everyone who gave me insights on how these characters work. Normally, I cover 5 characters, but this time, due to various reasons, I could only cover 3. Don't worry though, I'll still cover the rest in separate videos. Looking back on my experience, I can confidently say that playing an assist-type character is like flipping a coin. You'll either be the most useful teammate or the most useless one. There's no in-between. These characters are supposed to help their teammates gain advantages and win the game. Still, flops happen, and they happen often. This time, let's uncover the problems faced by these assist-type characters: the little girl, the psychologist, and the priestess. Stay tuned, guys! If you want to see a horror movie with a little girl as the antagonist, just watch Little Alice gameplay. It beats movies like Orphan or The Exorcist. Better or maybe worse, you get to experience the horror and jump scares in real time. Hello!
Oh God, no! No! Man down!
Little girl, the source of evil.
There you are!
Well, I wish I were making that up, but sadly, no. She's really the source of evil. I mean, check out one of her costumes. Even NetEase mentions that she's an evil spirit disguised as a cute, lovely little girl. That's why calling her Memory doesn't really cut it for me. Perhaps naming her Lucifer would be more fitting. And just look at the costume description. By God, it perfectly represents what the little girl really is. The little girl is literally a character made to troll others. Using her paper memory, she can pull off shenanigans that even the smartest scientist couldn't dream up. Take a look at these clips for context.
Bruh. Are you fucking kidding me?
Sometimes, I wonder if having this little girl on your team means you'll have 2 hunters in the match instead of 1. Having a little girl on your team means you have to be ready to kite at any moment. She can latch onto you and hide inside your body, making you her personal getaway car. Be glad that nowadays, the leeched survivor can simply brush her off. Back then, it was impossible to do so. Unless you warned them in the pre-match chat and gave them death threats before the game even started. Yeah, that's the problem with the little girl. You get chased, you leech onto the best kiter on the team, and you're done. No more worries. Just make sure to drop your paper memory in time. After a few vain attempts, or if the best kiter messes up and gets hit in 5 seconds, the hunter usually shifts their target. Sometimes, I think only lazy people play as little girl, because as soon as the match starts, these little girls teleport to safety and start leeching off their teammates. Sure, they mess up once or twice, but since she's so cute, maybe we can overlook that.
What the fuck?
But I know some little girl mains would debate this. There are actually decent kiters and supports among them. I salute those guys, not gonna lie. One thing though, if you're already a decent kiter and support when playing as little girl, please don't turn yourself into a wannabe harasser. Like I mentioned in my previous video, little girl is technically a harasser, even if she's not as good as the other harassers out there. The problem is, some little girl players I've met are wannabe harassers. Whenever they see someone getting the first chase, they teleport to them, leech onto them, and try their best to drop that paper memory and keep the hunter away. While it's great if they can actually kite and all, there are cases where they fail their paper memory, and instead of keeping the hunter away, they get the survivor knocked down instantly. One thing you gotta be aware of when playing as Ada Mesmer is to keep your phone's volume as low as possible. When she gets incapacitated and starts crawling on the ground, the sounds she makes can be, well, let's just say they sound like she's having a heavenly time with someone. Seriously, you don't want your parents thinking you're watching porn instead of playing IDV. And you have to wonder, why the heck do the IDV developers make Ada Mesmer sound like she's masturbating? It's not just her. Almost every female survivor in this game sounds so tempting. What the heck? Are we playing a new version of Tinder or what? So unless you want people around you giving you some very weird looks, keep that volume down. Ada Mesmer, the Psychologist. Most people play this character for her tanking ability because she can take 3 hits instead of 2, unless the hunter is Joseph or the game is lagging, which is pretty common. Ada Mesmer makes a great rescuer thanks to her tanking ability. She's not as good as the perfumer at tanking hits, but we all know the perfumer can only function as a tank if she's played by someone who isn't high on marijuana. Playing as Ada Mesmer, your main problem is that you'll have to do a lot of raw kiting. Aside from her long-range healing ability, she doesn't have any real countermeasures against hunters. Her only real option is to run to Emil, but that's only if that mentally unstable patient is still alive and actually willing to help. Perhaps only a few players use Ada Mesmer for her long-range healing ability. With her magical flute, she can heal teammates from as far away as another galaxy. Sorry, I mean from across the whole map. Although, she has to sacrifice herself in exchange for this magical flute ability. In practice, this long-range healing presents not only assistance for her teammates, but also a host of problems. First off, there are survivors in dire need of healing, but they end up getting no love from this messy psychologist who's being simped by the whole world. Like, there are survivors spamming "help me quick" messages, but they end up getting zilch from her and, alas, meeting their untimely demise. And then, the reverse could happen. There's a survivor being chased by hunters, needing to focus, but suddenly, there are 2 pesky icons popping up, asking if you want the psychologist's aid. While it's easy to swipe those icons away, it can totally throw off the kiter's concentration, turning what should be focused kiting into a hot mess. In such cases, well, GG Psychologist. You played well if you're on the hunter's side. However, as much as I want to point fingers at the psychologist for that mess, the problem isn't as shallow as it seems. It's a whole complicated saga if you really want to dive into it. To tell you the truth, I'm a psychologist main myself, and there are times when we just can't heal people, even if they're practically begging us. So what are the reasons? First off, the simplest of all the problems, the psychologist is being chased. Like, okay, you need healing, but did you even notice the chat box screaming? The hunter is nearby! That psychologist is being chased, for crying out loud! And yet, they still get all the hate in the post-match chat for not being able to heal. What the heck? Secondly, a psychologist might not respond to your call for help because she thinks it's pointless due to various factors. Yeah, it's selfish, but it makes sense in a way. I mean, is it really worth doing a long-range heal when the person asking for help is near another survivor who's just chilling? Or should the long-range healing be used when there's a barmaid or doctor around? Or, in the worst-case scenario, should you really be given long-range healing when you can't even kite a Burke for 30 seconds? Some psychologists think like that. It sucks, but it's somewhat reasonable. Thirdly, and this one might be really personal, is that the psychologist holds a grudge against you for something. As unbelievable as it sounds, there are psychologists who refuse to heal certain people because they've been toxic, especially in ranked matches. How come? Let's take an example. The psychologist gets chased early in the game. She does her best to kite, but still goes down with 5 ciphers remaining. Suddenly, some perfumer or prospector, or whoever the heck they are, posts that annoying yo-yo message in the chat, which, as we discussed before, is basically a way of saying, "Fuck you." Even worse, they refuse to rescue the poor psychologist, even though they're the closest to her. If that psychologist survives long enough and sees a call for help from these yo-yo people, she might just ignore it and post the same yo-yo message back. Or maybe even a, "Get out of here." Another problem with the psychologist is, whenever that one patient exists, Emil, who I believe is the most handsome patient in IDV as well as the most mentally unstable one, would make a great pair for Ada. But, well, as problematic as Emil mains who just want to simp, some Ada mains also drop all logic when they are matched with Emil. They'll do their best just to flirt in the corner, doing the hugging emote, riding the carousel or roller coaster together, and dancing together. Like I said before, is IDV perhaps a new app similar to Tinder? Maybe IDV should collab with it and create an app called Tinder Titty 5. You know, sometimes, and I really mean sometimes, I can't put my trust in any kiter in this game, especially those wearing limited S-tier costumes. I mean, these kiters are all decked out in their flashy S-tier costumes and accessories, sparkling and shining. But as soon as the game starts, they're shouting, "The hunter is nearby! Help me!" or "I'm stuck!" And then they get terror shocked with 5 ciphers still remaining. It's like, seriously? It's the limited S-tier skin they are wearing, and they can't even handle a geisha. Now, take any Priestess main. You know what? They usually just wear their original costume or, at best, an A-tier one. And they can kite even the toughest hunter for more than 2 minutes! She's not even a kiter! She's an assist-type survivor. That chick is a real gangster, man. She's so badass that both hunters and survivors started calling her Cockroach because she's so slippery, annoying, and hard to kill. Well, some of you might think that not everyone flaunting those expensive skins is actually good at the game. And guess what? I agree, 100%! If skill were determined by skins, it would be a real slap in the face to every Percy main out there who's been getting the cold shoulder from the skin department. Seriously, I just got beaten by Percy today. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. In quick matches and not in rank, where the hunter is supposed to be chilling. In one match, I even flew first. Percy mains are actually killing it despite Nettie's practically forgetting he exists. And speaking of neglected characters, how's our buddy Jose doing over there in the corner? Still waiting for another skin, eh? How long has it been? Feels like an eternity. Oh, and look! There's the wildling main, joining the pity party and grumbling away. But hey, let's face it, those pricey skins are there for one reason. To get people to open their wallets and make it rain for Netties. So, bravo to you, Netties. You're absolutely nailed it. Still talking about Netties, the Priestess is literally a character they must have created when the entire team was drunk. I mean, she was basically invincible before the nerf, and even after getting buffed several times, she's still overpowered. But only in the hands of a pro, of course. There are always those clueless Priestess users out there stumbling around like Power Rangers looking for monsters on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So, how clueless are these priestesses? Well, one of their distinguishing traits is using her portal to transport themselves, not to safety, but to the afterlife. Take rescuing, for example. I bet most of you have tried rescuing someone using that priestess portal, right? Even though you know perfectly well that the hunter is waiting on the opposite side. So here they are, these clueless priestess mains, zipping through the portal, trying to do a flash rescue, but ending up getting a flash call to heaven instead. Now, there's another case of a priestess using her portal to trick the hunter into entering it, only for them to enter it first and result in some successful mind gaming. A noble cause indeed, but the execution? Often terrible. Some of these priestesses will cluelessly form a portal, enter it, and before they can renter it, the hunter is already there, making their attempt completely fruitless. Or, they form a portal, enter it, and renter successfully, only to realize the hunter is still on the opposite side, ready to deliver a nice, painful slap right to their face. If a short portal isn't enough to describe how clueless these priestesses can be, let's talk about the long portal. You may have encountered a priestess calling you when you're in a tight spot, right? Ideally, it's a strategy to make the hunter shift targets so you can escape using the long portal. But sometimes these priestesses are just so clumsy that they make the long portal as far as they can, for no good reason. The longer, the better. That's their motto. Not all the problems with priestesses come from themselves, to be honest. Some issues are created by their teammates who, at best, are just trying to have fun, and, at worst, have a grudge against her for some reason. These teammates, upon receiving a priestess call, might plant a portal next to a pallet and slam it shut right away so the priestess can't enter back into it. Or they simply won't answer the call at all. On rare occasions, a survivor will answer the call for a portal, then direct the hunter to where the portal is, so the hunter can give the priestess a direct hit. It's a team effort, just not the kind anyone asked for. Also, don't forget those little girl mains who love to mess with priestesses. Whenever the priestess calls her teammates using a long portal, these mischievous little girls will slap down a paper to cancel the skill, forcing the priestess to wait ages before she can activate it again. So, if you're a little girl main with a grudge against these portal-happy roaches, just place a paper whenever she makes a long call. So, those are the problems with the assist-type characters, Part 1. Since there are many characters to cover, I'll separate the assist-type characters into several parts. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for tuning in, guys!